with the lightning path, there's a lot of different tools to play with. And I know, so this is being a full moon of the Buddha. That was Sophia's real love of meditation and what the Buddha taught. And so this is just very amazing that this shows up today. The other thing is some of the tools in the lightning path led to the Sabian symbols. And today is Gemini 3 degree. That's Sophia's sun. And her Sabian symbol is in the garden of Tuileries in Paris. And on this date, May 23rd, 2018, unbeknownst to Sophia and myself, we were in the garden of Tuileries in Paris.
Wow.
On May 23rd, 2018.
Wow.
So I was just really feeling the magic of that 3 degree Gemini, and its meaning behind it is so Sophia. It was like she was a path maker, and she created her life, and she created abundance in her life coming from nothing but the support of her mom. And it's just magical how that Sabian symbol is resonating today. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you. Beautiful. Well, if anyone, is there anything that anyone wants to share before we get into the presentation mode? As if not,
I'll introduce myself just because I'm new here. I'm a friend of Sophia and Steve's, and I was invited today by Steve, and so I'm very happy to be here with everyone. I'm Jude.
Great, Jude, welcome.
I'll just introduce myself too. I know Steve and Sophia. I worked with her, into the 2000s, the early 2000s, and she was a path maker for me. Definitely Steve knows that. Life-changing that I met her, and she was my friend, my mentor, and somebody that I just have the most respect and love for. So thank you for inviting me here today too.
Welcome. These are graphics that have just come together in the last couple of weeks. I've been, I work regularly with Keynote on the Mac, and I have quite an enormous collection of images now. And every now and then a bunch of them all fall together into one place. And my endless quest is to make the lightning path more visible and understandable. So this is kind of like the latest presentation of the imagery here. The lightning path is attuned to the orbit of planet Uranus. And by way of the lunar cycle of Earth, we're able to come into resonance with that orbit of Uranus. At least that's the practice. And this is a novel, seemingly novel discovery of mine. I haven't found it anywhere in the literature that I've encountered. But it all began with a sudden revelation back in March 3rd, 1986. If you look at the upper left-hand image here, you'll see this fellow, Mr. Natural, who back in the 70s was quite popular. So Mr. Natural, also known as Dwayne, entered into this resonant relationship to the orbit of Uranus. And it was right in 1986. It was exactly at the time that Voyager 2 was sending images of Uranus back to Earth, which was a completely novel occurrence at the time. It was also associated with the return of Halley's Comet. It passed through right at the same time. So from that initial insight, the way this has unfolded is that every new moon, we enter a new sector of the ancient Mayan calendar known as the Tzolk'in. So every new moon has a number and a hieroglyph associated with it. And what we've been doing with the Lightning Path as a group is checking in at new moon, seeing what the number and glyph are, because they're kind of they're kind of prompts as to how you can expand consciousness towards the end of cosmic consciousness, unconditional love, these sorts of values.
I just want to give a brief history of Sophia, just quickly. When she was 6 years old, her dad had to leave Hungary because of the revolution he was for, and the Russians were after him. So he had to leave and go to Austria. When she was 15, she went to visit him in Vienna. And from that moment, she came back and she had this plan to become a dentist and then leave Hungary. And at 25, she became a dentist and went to Vienna. And then she got a dental job in Vienna, and the doctor wanted her to stay, and she had it all set, but she wanted to travel the world. So she immigrated to Canada in 75 when she was 25, and she passed 4 years. She studied and had to become a dentist again in Canada. She passed the boards, all 3 boards, only 2 people out of 50 who took it that year. And then she started to work as a dentist in Calgary, and then opened her own practice in 84. And during the recession, she didn't realize there was a recession, but her practice flourished. And then 6 years later, she's at 40, she sold her practice and bought a one-way ticket around the world and traveled the world for over a year with her backpack, and came back and then met me in 93. And then she opened another practice in Calgary, and that's where Debbie comes in as a dental hygienist. And that was successful. Then we cashed out in 2003 and traveled the West, camping and traveling. And then 2010, at 60 years old, she decided to become a TCM practitioner, got her master's in traditional Chinese medicine at 60, opened a practice in Austin, Texas for 4 years. Then we left Austin for Vancouver Island, and Sophia became president of the Vipassana meditation on the island here, and we helped create a center here on the island. And then she taught at Vancouver Island University and on Zoom or art classes, and created her Wise Women's group. And a month ago, it's like her work is done, and now she's out there creating more joy.
But Steve, she touched she touched everybody so they could follow and pave paths. And, and the scope of who she's touched in this world and in this lifetime is amazing and wonderful and huge.
Mhm.
And that will continue.
Mhm.
Thank you for sharing that, Steve. That is just the wholesomeness of Sophia. Like that was just so beautiful to share that, and that really, yeah, makes a big difference. I didn't know her through all those years, or haven't known her for that long, but you've now established a fullness of Sophia's life, and it's beautiful. So thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome. Yeah. Yeah. She really created abundance and shared it. She was very generous.
Mhm.
She is very generous.
Yes. It's not easy this morning to talk or to use words. I'm
Mm.
full of different positive and overwhelmed about who Sophia was. When I registered for the class in Victoria, I had been through a hand surgery, and I asked her in an email, I know this is strange, but I would like to take your course, but I can't draw because my hand was in a cast. And she was so quick at saying, well, if people think this is impossible, you're going to prove them right. And then she was so welcoming and inclusive in that way. I didn't know if she was going to let me. And to say it briefly, I had never done art in my life. I was in other sphere in my life, but Sophia opened this incredible place in myself where I can be creative and not fearful of mistakes and not perfecting. Like I was hooked on the perfection, and she was so good at telling me that when you do art, it's perfect as it is. And I accepted that. And because I couldn't draw, it alleviate my fear of doing art. And it was almost like I was getting her teaching and her wisdom through the courses, and I had the peacefulness that I couldn't draw, so it was okay. I will be drawing another time, and it opened. I am a new person because of her, and I'm sure this is not. I'm not unique in that way. She traced a new life for me. She helped me through it, and I really made a lot of progress at my age to change basic fears, basic, you know, yeah, negativity. And with the PQ, I couldn't believe the work I've done with her, the personal path that she helped me go through. She's in my heart.
Thank you, Monique.
Can I just say something quickly that I sent a message to Steve the other day saying I'd had a dream about Sophia. And then the following day, I got a very strong message from her. So the day following the dream. And he said to me, yes, a lot of people have been getting messages. So I wrote back to him saying, well, she's just as busy as ever. She's just not slowing down. I thought she needed a bit of a break, but obviously not. So she's just continuing to be there for so many of us on another plane.
Thank you, Vicky. She is.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Norm here. I had the privilege of being Sophia's chiropractor in her last chapter, what turned out to be her last chapter. And as I remember her spirit and our time together, what comes clear to me is, boy, she was a great communicator, incredible communicator. She was courageous. She was committed. She knew her path.
Mhm.
Yeah. And she knew when her exit was. And she took that graciously.
Mhm.
And yeah, what an honor to have met her and to support her and to support you, Steve. And I'm cherished that our relationship continues, and I can learn a little bit more about Sophia. I didn't know some of those details that have been shared, and just like what big smile on my face and what the life she's lived. And I just feel myself being kind of called forward to exemplify some of those fine characters today.
Thank you, Norm. Yeah, she is a warrior.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, she was giving right to the end.
Mhm.
And if I can honor her in one way, that would be that she gave me the gift of ease. And it's a very special gift. And I can hear her just say, get on with it. I had the word. Oh, what was she saying? Yeah, she says there's pain and there's joy, and it's time to enjoy the toys. So it's playing with all these conscious raising activities and coming from love. And it's like I had the word come to me, a very interesting word, the word squander. It's like, don't squander my time here. Get on with it and be in the light. So she really gave me a unique gift. Yeah. And I highly recommend spirit talks with your partners. Just lay it all out there. There's nothing to hide. It was just magical being able to just talk right through to the last moment. Yeah, she was a communicator. She had Mercury in Gemini, the ruler, and she was very, very mercurial and quick.
This is just to help bring context to our proceedings according to the lightning path. The moon cycle that we are in now is called is 6-ish, which is the signature of the shaman and the adventurer in consciousness, the heart, and that is contained within the context of 13 moons, which make up what we call a temple. So we're currently in the temple of eagles, in the 6th moon, 6 of 13. And as we approach this 7th moon, I just want to alert people who are on this path that 7th moons are, in my experience, generally really transformative. There's a whole different energetic that kicks in with number 7, good old mysterious number 7, and I feel like I'm picking up on the vibes already. So That's kind
Isn't
of,
that's the peak of the temple, right?
yes, yeah.
7.
It's like the 7 coordinates all the other numbers into dyads.
Mhm.
7 stands alone, the vertical pillar, which is the chakra system essentially. Hey, it worked. I got
There we go.
pick. Now, here we go.
Mhm. Mhm.
I think what comes to me talking about relationship and validation, that I feel, as you say, that you appreciated the art which came from Barbara, and now that is I feel not validation but support. Like it feels like the art which comes from Barbara supporting your work. So I feel that there is 5 of us in this relationship, and I feel that there is no requirement or no need for validation, but it's a fun thing to share. It's playtime and support each other with art or our input or just simply showing up. That's a support. So it is a really different dimension to a relationship, and almost like a level of awareness of boundary of where is support versus smothering, like that's a very fine line of like I experience it with Steve, like if ever he needs something or I need something, we ask each other, do you want me to help you or you just whining? Or so it is a very fine line of smothering or supporting. Yeah.
Right on. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, good to point that out. Yes.
I appreciated your in your presentation the 1987 trip up to the mountain. It is when you're showing the picture, I want to say, I am there. It was fun. I was there.
Oh, good.
I don't know. Like that was as you say, there was about 30 or 40 of us, and when you show that picture, sometimes when I see it, I say to Steve, here I am, here I am. But of course, I don't see myself, but I know I was there. And it was very sweet because I had a good friend come from America with her brother. And, that was a big event. So I was very super excited and I invited them. And my friend, who's a psychologist, she was kind of open to it, but the brother was quite hesitant. He says, I am not sure what it is about. Early morning is an unknown group going up to a peak, driving out of Calgary. I am not sure about that. And so we finally said to him, but that's okay if you want to come with us, and if you don't feel comfortable, then you can sit in the car, like we were driving out of Calgary. And I said, I know I am walking up on the mountain because I trust Wayne, I know him, and I am part of this spiritual community. And I said, it's quite okay if you just sit in the car. So when we arrived, and my friend, she said, yeah, I'm going with you, I'm trusting you. And then the brother kind of stood out of the car and looked around, and he said, I see they bring their children. I see children coming to these gatherings.
Yeah.
So he said, okay, I guess if they bring their children, it's quite safe. So I'm going to go with you guys. So
oh, that's so great.
Yeah, I thought that was an interesting observation on his part,
Yes,
and
yes.
an open mind, not saying no, I am not going, but I was kind of in a awe because I said, oh, why is it would not be safe? You know, like I just said that I was really almost blindly trusting you and trusting the group. You know, it never occurred in my mind that this is not safe.
Right.
But for him, it was really, really questioning that who are these people? What are we doing with the drumming? You know.
Yeah.
So, but then it was a sweet statement. He said, "Oh, they are bringing their children, so I guess it's okay. I go
Yeah.
with you
I'm
guys."
so glad to hear that. That's wonderful.
I say that I am in awe about synchronicity because I was in another group on this Wednesday, and there was a lady who was purchasing a standing gong, and the gong is tuned to Chiron. And I thought, okay, I know that little bit about Chiron.
Right.
And now you are showing that Chiron is between the outer planets and the inner planets. So I said, oh, obviously Chiron is coming towards me and towards the group. It's on my list that I want to look up to learn more about Chiron. And now you kind of giving me the position and the self. So it's
great.
synchronicity happening constantly. So thank you.
Oh, my
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, the wounded healer, that's how much I know about it. And I think I'm gonna kind of dive into it a little bit more. So thank you. Yeah.
That's great. I highly recommend Barbara Cloud's book on Chiron.
Okay.
Rainbow Bridge Between the Inner and Outer Planets.
Yeah.
That's
It
great.
resonates. The rainbow bridges resonates right away. Yeah.
Yeah. A great image to work with artistically.
Yeah.
You know.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. And another synchronicity, I feel that how you talk about the symbols. I am teaching an art class in September, and when I was thinking what is going to be taught, and the title came Symbols and Colors. So it's going to be 8 weeks, and each week we're going to explore a different symbol. So I am very much resonating with the symbology and the symbols of the Mayans and the other type of symbols. And I really feel a very deep resonance between the universe, us, and the symbols. It's kind of a language. So it's very cool. Yeah, thank you. I have a question.
Yeah.
When you say that you have a journaling practice, so that means that you journal, meaning you write every day. And my question is, when you sit down with your paper and pen, you have some questions in your mind, or how the actual process is just what you sense or think, or so what is the content of how you process that journaling?
Right on. It's very open-ended. So it's kind of, because I'm always researching, like I'm bringing all of my research into that place as well. So every day, if I've come across an extended passage in a book, I may photocopy that, and boom, that comes into my journal. You know, and then I make my notes, whatever. And, you know, here's, for example, here's my 3-ring binder for the last couple of journals. And, you know, and they end up gathering a lot of images as well as text. If I do an I Ching reading, that's in there. If I'm recalling a memory of something that in a relationship that I'm still working on, that I want to flesh out, that'll go in there. It's virtually anything that's going on in my life that I want to kind of keep appraised of. I was really early on, a friend of mine saw what I was up to, and she said, "Oh, you've got to read this book by Arthur Young." And Arthur Young was the inventor who got the first commercial helicopter off the ground. And he was a physicist. And he said that journaling for him became his spiritual practice. Initially, it was his journal as an inventor. So he would keep track of all the different steps that he was working with the invention. And he said it was very helpful to be able to go back a week or 2 weeks or 2 years to something that he'd been working on, bringing that forward because it was the piece he needed for now. And so he just raved about the value of journaling in his own practice. And it turned out that whole segment of his life where he got the first commercial copter off the ground, he said the helicopter became a metaphor for his own spiritual being, his own uplifting, well, he called it the psychopter. And he went from physics to metaphysics. That was his journey. And he became a very avid astrologer.
Dwayne, is there anyone in the waiting room?
His latter life. I
don't believe so.
Published journal.
You're just checking in the chat.
A number of years. And it's just fascinating to see his process. And he really encouraged, it was encouragement for me, certainly, to the point I actually called him one day. He had a thing called the Institute for the Study of Consciousness. And I came across this, and there was a phone number, and I thought, wow, I got questions about this. So I dial the phone, and I can just get the picture. He hasn't received a phone call, and this guy was way out of the box. He hasn't received a phone call on this line for a heck of a long time. It was kind of like I imagined him clambering over stuff to get to the phone. But we had this fantastic conversation, and we ended by sharing birth data with each other. That was the next step, was to go off and process it from there. Never talked to him again, but there was such a great moment. Yeah. Arthur Young, definitely. I really like, if you get into astrology, you'll know that there's this series of symbols called the Sabian symbols. Mark Edmund Jones, and early in the 20th century, and you get a different symbol for each degree of the zodiac. So your sun has a symbol, your moon has a symbol, the new moon has a symbol. And that body of symbolism came forth with the funding provided by Arthur Young. He and his wife had a foundation. And they funded Mark Edmund Jones to bring the Sabian symbols forward. I was so knocked out by that. That's just was like, wow. Just how kind of tight-knit the connections can be.
In the shamanic studies, they always compare the condor, like the big condor to that would be kind of the South American version of our North American version of eagle. And it's always comes to mind to me that this is the two birds which fly the highest. And they have the big perspective, like seeing the bigger vision, seeing the bigger picture. And I'm really feeling with your presentation that we are moving into this new consciousness, where I feel that we have a chance with the eagle view, saying, oh yeah, so this is what's coming, a bigger picture, And we can use different words: loving kindness, compassion, caring, cooperation versus competition, you know, so it's all of different manifestation of this new consciousness of the Aquarian age. And it just kind of, when you talked about the eagle, I thought, yeah, that's what feels to me that in these different groups and events like our, you know, like there is 5 of us,
Yep.
and there is many other groups and events and situations where I really feel that the global consciousness really moving through these. Some people call it that we are moving through kind of a birth canal,
Yeah.
and it just feels like that kind of bringing together this opposition, you know, how you're presenting it in your presentation, that the opposite energies, and of course, you know, we always bring in this alignment of heaven and earth, you know, like that yin yang,
Yep.
Chinese medicine alignment. So it is just looking at your presentation, I felt that I said, yeah, it all comes together. It doesn't matter if you look at Mayan or ancient other wisdom traditions, you know, the Veda or the Chinese medicine or the Tao, or I feel, of course, always excited about Carl Jung, you know, because I think he was a master of alchemy in our latest century, you know, and I feel very excited when I see him and how he was really tuned in to this consciousness movement, and how what we today experiencing changes in psychology and the science of psychology, and just actually psychology exists, you know, and people actually can say to do some trauma work. Like 100 years ago, there was no such a thing as people can do trauma work, you know.
Yeah.
So I always celebrate Carl Jung when we talk about him, because I know Freud was okay, but Freud had different ideas, you know. So I cherish Carl, and of course I cherish him because his transformation was supported by art and the mandala.
Yes.
And plus, you know, like he really seeked out the knowledge through the mandalas, and he pursued it for himself. And the book, the red book, is just phenomenal art, a piece of art.
Yeah.
And then he brought the mandalas to his client. Like he was really a revolutionary person. So yeah, so thank you for really bringing it together. Every time I look at your presentation, I just say, yes, yes, yes. So thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you. It's wonderful. Yeah, the Red Book is just such a feast of imagery, just powerful. And to imagine, I mean, he carried on a practice at the same time. He had family to deal with, all of that. I mean, just hard to imagine how he keep it all together.
Yeah, I think he spent a lot of quiet time. You know, like I have read about his life, and he did, you know, how he had a practice, and he had the mandalas, and he had the children and the wife, and you know, the whole society. But apart from that, I think a lot of time in meditation. So that really kept him grounded and bringing new ideas in. So
Right.
yeah, he was a real alchemist. Yeah. So
yeah. For sure.
Thank you. I am in awe. I'm just in awe. AWE.
Aw.
Oh, I'm in awe. And Yes, it's I feel I dropped into some very deep connection with your whole presentation of all of these different elements which showed up in your presentation, that how that showed up in my life. And talking about synchronicity, you know, like I have paid attention synchronicity in my life, but it always I thought that is it just happens. It's just natural. It's always happens, and maybe I never really paid attention on the mythical level. You know, maybe I paid attention of the flow of natural flow in a kind of physical level. And many months ago, I went to a tarot card reader, and she said to me, your life is easy because you pay attention to these so-called, she called it coincidences, what kind of coming to your life, and you take it for granted that that's just how life is. And she said, you always know when and where to be. And I kind of was struck by her reading, because I felt that was given, like it was given to me, like it felt like it was my natural way of living. And I always thought that everybody lives by that way, that they kind of pay attention what is coming, and then they ride on that wave. And she said, no. She said, most of the people don't. So she said, don't take it for granted. It is kind of a gift for you, which you have, and you just kind of accept it, that's how things are. And so recently I started to actually study a little bit deeper about synchronicity and connecting through Jung. You know, Jung talks about the deeper level of synchronicity, and Jung has been my whole entire life an important person to learn from it. And last time we went to Switzerland, I almost went to see his house. Almost.
Oh, I would love to go there. Yeah.
Yeah, but then other things were happening, and so I said to myself, "Oh, maybe that's just gonna give me another reason to go back to Switzerland and visit some friends." And definitely, the intent is going to see his home on
touch that monument. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that would be great.
And like I just want to say a tiny synchronicity what happened on Monday. I had a client of private coaching, and in the 90-minute coaching, constantly the idea came that she is struggling to be in the present moment. She said, either I feel that I am in the regretting the past, what I've done or not, or this anxiety, I am traveling into the future. So at the 90-minute session, I would say probably the half of it we spend on this, how to stay in the present moment. And when I finished this session, I just went on my email, and I am connected to the Ariati bookstore, which is a bookstore promoting the Buddha's teaching. And every day Buddha's words comes, and that particular day was about the how to stay in the present, and the person who is capable capable to stay in the present, not in the past, not in the future, but staying in the present. And that now, today is Wednesday, it's connecting because the bottom, but the last sentence on that quote is that person who is staying in the present, capable and able to ferry to the other shore. So here we are, we have the ferryman
I love it.
taking us to the other shore, and who is in the present moment. So I was just kind of listening, and I had the same thing when I was seeing the ferryman. I said, what is this ferryman about? And it came back, I said, oh yeah, in that quote was that the ferryman is taking us to the other shore, that is the present moment. And I said, what else about this ferryman? So I had to kind of smile when Steve said, do you know more about the ferryman? So I am just, that's the reason I say I'm in awe, because in this whole presentation what transpired and how that relates 1 day ago, 2 days ago to this ferryman going to the other shore. So it's just talking about the magic and the myth and the depth of synchronicity.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. And thank you for sharing about your writing your journal as a practice. I know that you have a 3-ring binder and many 3-ring binders. And I say to myself, suddenly I noticed that I was traveling to the past with a little bit of regret, because I have been writing in my entire life, and I have different notes here and there all over. So for a moment, I felt regretful, saying, oh, I wish I did have a 3-ring binder and papers like in 72, you know, and I would have a big body of notes. And so I said, yes, Sophia, but it wasn't. So just let it go, and maybe you can start today. So I think I'm gonna go and buy a 3-ring binder and have I have many 3-ring binders, but it's just many different things.
Yeah.
And my notes are all over. So I think you inspired me. You inspired me to have journal practice in a 3-ring binder.
Oh, right. That's great.
This buying paper, which already has the 3-ring punching.
Right.
You know, because Steve and I, we have a puncher, and many times we punching paper. But I said to myself, I don't need to punch. I just buy those paper. Everything is available. So for inspiring me.
Oh, that's great. That makes me happy. Sophia.
Yeah, I'm gonna go on that because I made some asterisks on my notepad, and that's exactly I made about transcended the problems, and I made a note about resonance and about how important is sound, you know, like as we say, resonance, but it's really what is happening of the embracing this new frequency. So I'm really feeling that we say about resonance, but it's really about that sounding. We are sounding together, and I made a note about I'm a spiritual warrior in the Hall of Mirrors, and it came to me that what does that mean, Hall of Mirrors, where we are mirroring each other. And then my favorite is we are all in the yellow submarine. I really like your little submarine going, and I actually wrote it down. Picture yourself in a time being with pulsating people whose lives are divine. And I'm kind of really resonating with this idea of time being and people, because it seems to me that in the last 3 years since we have COVID and we have Zoom, I just feel that I have these pod of people, smaller or bigger group of pod of people or group of people who I really feel this different level of resonancy. And when you said, oh yeah, we are in this yellow submarine, and I thought, sure, we are in the yellow submarine in the lake where we had the garden, so it just kind of, everything came together. I said, am I in a dreamland? I am under the water in the yellow submarine, or just cruising around looking at this beautiful garden. And an image came of how in Thailand they have these floating markets, like it's not a floating garden, but they bring the goods from the garden to sell, and they have these boats, and the boats has the fruits and the vegetables and other things. So it's actually, they call it floating market, but it could look like a floating garden on a lake. So it's interesting that how these images around the world kind of come together with water and feeding and beauty and magic, like magic. And of course, I love the beginning of the presentation when you say, again, you quote Jung, who is one of my fave, that mythology, the importance of mythology is a bridge between conscious and unconscious. So it is really, I am kind of sinking into a deeper level of understanding mythology, because I think there was a time when I saw the word mythology, I said, that's just a story, that's just people make up. But now I am, with your presentation every time, I am feeling that, this is really important that we understand mythology, because, and I think today it's kind of just sunk in, that that is really the connection between the conscious and the unconscious. And of course, in one of your presentation, you had the importance of Chiron, the Chiron showing us between the outer planet and the inner planet. And again, the rainbow, and the rainbow is the consciousness between the unconscious and the conscious, like a bridge. So the more I am with you, the more I am seeing all of these symbologies coming, showing that somewhere actually we think that there is consciousness or unconsciousness, less consciousness, but in truth, that is only the field, quantum field, and there is no duality in it. Somehow we just kind of, for understanding, be making that separation of conscious and unconscious, but it's really just the quantum field. And so I am with this kind of mythology / quantum physics. I'm really kind of sensing, resonating with this idea of cosmic field. So thank you. That's the end of my presentation.
I find fascinating that is the egg exercise. I know that the yolk part is 34% of the egg. And when I look at how the balancing happens, I always thought about that, how that can happen. And it just came when I was looking that obviously the yolk part has to really settle into the lower part of the egg to hold that balance. So I know that it's 34% of the yolk is part of the egg. The other thought form connected to that number is Pierre Teilhard de Chardin has a writing about saying that when the 33%, so I thought that's interesting, it's a very close number, and he telling us that when the 33% of consciousness, or the 33% of the 8 billion people, whatever is that, will be living out of these love and peace and unity consciousness, and the other 67% automatically will align. So I thought that interesting, the portion of the yoke, 34%, the portion of the consciousness need to be 33%. And I heard a statistic recently somewhere that we are only at 5%. So I think we are going towards the 33%, and there is more work to do. And I have peace with it, that I just do what I do, on working on myself, creating my workshops and seminars and presentations, participating, and just have fun with it and surrender that that's all what I can do. Working on me and bringing it forward and showing up in your presentation. Thank you, it's awesome. And another number came to me interestingly, is the 84 year of the orbit of the Venus.
Yep.
And I have 3 books in the house. One is, of course, many Chinese medicine books, and they talk about this 84 cycle. It is like the first 28, and then 56, and then 84, like Chinese medicine talks about the 3 cycle of life. And then I have a chakra book, and that talks about exactly the same division of 7, 21, 14, 28, 56, 84. And then I have a spiral book, which of course the spiral book and talks about this life cycle, how our life goes in the cycle of after 56, and then it starts again, 7, 14, 21, and to 84. So I'm just kind of fascinated that it almost doesn't matter where I look in my bookshelf, the same principle coming out. And then, of course, I have my Hunaku book. There's no accident that I have been attracted to it. And then I have this book. I just say, all of my books on my bookshelf goes with the principle. And
I love it.
yeah, and I think of the word on courage. Like, I remember when I started to see these consciousness map, I was super excited to find it, because there is a saying that what gets measured gets improved. So I I have several small groups, and I always give them this map of consciousness, because I feel that once we can look at and measure it where we are at, and when I look at the chart, I always felt that I said, courage must be a turning point. And then I am looking at many of my clients' participation, that I am noticing that character of courage to do something or not to do something, or be aware or showing up, is such a critical point. And me was born in the Chinese calendar as a tiger. So being a tiger, there is no shortage of courage. But it's very interesting to see that I am witnessing that there is shortage of courage. And I guess my mind, when I am listening to your presentation, my mind says, if a person wasn't born with courage, how a person can build that character. Because I'm really seeing on that chart now that is such a turning point. So thank you for showing it with your little submarine, showing it to the courage that can be an entry point. And then of course, very interesting that we're talking about the balance and the 11. Today we are on the 11th path, and 11 is a portal. So I guess I am asking myself, so how a person can support other people to build courage to walk through that portal? Because sometimes I am noticing, and I am coaching my clients, that it's almost like there is a door, the door is open, but of course we don't know what is behind. We don't know exactly where we go. So that's where I feel that at point of courage, of stepping towards that, whatever is unknown. So it's quite interesting to see as you started this presentation that is 11, and I always see 11 as a portal to taking us to a new level of consciousness. So thank you, and I don't know what is going to be our next 11 cycle, if you decide or if we decide, and that is where I am at today with all of these numbers in my head.
Thank you. I like those numbers. Feels like a good segue moment over to Sophia, who's our next presenter. Do you have anything to share about that, Sophia?
Well, I think first I had to decide if I want to take the slot, like that was it. I am amazed with the process of decision, and I am noticing when I listen and look at your presentation in previously, and when I look at your website, I'm noticing that there are several books that you mentioned, and I had it right here on my bookshelf. And every time I am in this meeting or looking at your website, it seemed like the books kind of start to talk to me. So that's how of course, the very first book is loudly talking to me is Jose Arguelles, The Mandalas, Nice. And I have that book, and then I kind of looked at it and I said, oh, this will be very cool. And then I collected all of the books and that big pile, and I said to Steve, I'm gonna just make a little book report on this. And Steve said, so you're gonna choose one? And I said, no, I'm gonna do all of them. Like that is about eight or nine books. I have it here in the house, which constantly showing up on your website or in our discussion, Right. But no, I think it's a little bit too ambitious. So I had to kind of scale back, and I said, again, I went on your website again. I said, I know that the book of Hunapku, because the Hunapku symbol, and the symbols is constantly in my face doing sacred geometry, like sacred geometries and symbols and signs. That's where I live my life. And the Hunapku symbol, I noticed that is right on your website in the Tolkien, so I said, if I just want to choose one book, maybe just scale back to one book or one concept, So I think it will be, and of course, the Hunapku symbol very much relates to the I Ching of the yin and yang. And of course, my other fascination with life is the Chinese medicine, the I Ching, and the 64 hexagrams. So as you say, as I heard it from James' presentation, that somehow I just need to focus and concentrate on a smaller spectrum rather than go, wow, I can do 15 books, you know. So I looked at it and I said, maybe I'm just gonna start is the Hunapku book and the Hunapku symbol and go into a little bit deeper what is really meaning. And then of course, you know, you and I, we chatted about a couple of times about the power versus force. And it seems like that kind of came into our consciousness kind of recently. And I think both of us likes the map of consciousness. I always been fascinated with that chart because it's really, I see it as a tool, as a measuring tool to showing us which direction we are traveling. So I thought maybe that. And recently I kind of engaged myself to Violdo studies and Violdo teaching. You know, he is kind of a modern Peruvian shaman. And I took a couple of courses and he talks about constantly that is different experiences, including our food choices, we are building these light bodies, you know. And so he talks about the term of homo luminous. I said, yeah, we are on the lightening path because we are light beings. So, and I just got that book a couple of days ago. So I thought, oh, this is kind of a new adventure. So I disciplining myself to commit to 3 books. And so one of them will be my Hunapku book, The Power of Force, and the last one will be this new book of what kind of nutrition and choose enhance our light body. So that's where I am at.
Great. Look forward to that.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm gonna make a slideshow. I very comfortable with, and I have done many different ones. So I think I'm kind of looking at your fancy website and fancy presentation, but I said, no, at the moment, maybe I want to focus on the content rather than the new technology. So I am, as I said, I'm comfortable with the slideshow, and I am actually already kind of one third. Yesterday I got so excited, I said, oh, I'm just gonna look at it. And it's just happening, you know, like effortlessly happening, yeah. Can go. I was living in Calgary at that time, and I was one of the person in the crowd who was walking up to Yamnuska. It was a very special time of walking up there with our drum, watching the sunrise, and feeling that sensation of connecting to like-minded people through synchronicity. I think that was the magazine at that time, and it stood for Synchronicity and the Synergy Breakfast, and I think that's where I met Suzanne and Tracy, and yeah, it was a magical time to connect to like-minded people, and being part of that. I call it the shamanic journey because it was, I think it started my shamanic journey at that time, and then I was involved with other groups and drumming and going out to Dwayne home, and yeah, so it is quite interesting to see that 36 years went by. So I just want to say, wow, and now we are here and we are using this amazing technology and reflecting and still being in love with each other, being in love with the planet, the animals, and magical time. So
That's it for me. Thank you.
I've lost control of my cursor again. Maybe we can just have this image as the backdrop to our discussion.
Mhm.
And yeah, just
Thank you, Dwayne,
my pleasure.
to bring all that forward and consolidate her thoughts and ideas and sharing. That was beautiful. And it's there to listen to. Wow. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, Steve. It's just so, I mean, we know she's still with us in spirit, and we know she's there, but what a wonderful this technology to be able to then hear her voice, to see her, and her talking. I mean, it just, she's, as I say, she's always there with us in all these ways. So it's quite wonderful. So thank you, Dwayne, for putting that together. And it was so wonderful to see Sophia, hear her voice, and on this special day.
Like I noticed Wilma noted that her enthusiasm, and I guess it's an opportunity to tap into that again because it's recorded. And of course, now I don't feel it right here, but it's there as a reminder. Just, with that enthusiasm just emanates, get on with it, keep going, keep playing, keep having fun, keep being enthused about life. So it's very special. Thank you.
And I can appreciate that position, Steve, that I mean, physically, she's been around you for all those years. So it's a physical, I mean, you've lost that physical. I feel for you on that.
Yeah. Every morning coffee was like what we just saw. Across the table. But it's something that she shared, so it's obviously resonating with me. So it's great to feel that vibration through the presentation.
And the courage now for you to be without her in your physical experience. I mean, the courage and stamina and reminders that I feel for you in that, how, yeah, the
Yeah.
energy, courage that will take.
But it's right there, that word, courage. See how important that was or is for her. And yeah, she could really step through. Yeah.
For me too, I should say, having known Sophia and you for many, many years, it's been great to just see her talking, sharing her ideas in this particular presentation. So good to hear her voice. And also, Steve, for you to share your own feelings and let us or me be part of it as well. Very meaningful time this morning. So I'm very thankful that for this time that I could be part of it as well.
Thank you, Arnott. It's wonderful to have you here. Yeah, I can hear her talking to you and sharing.
You know, Steve, you had your morning coffees, and when I worked for Sophia, every day we had our morning meeting. And it wasn't about the patients, it wasn't about the money, it was about how are you? And three things that I always remember and it's ingrained in me is, but how are you really? You know, she could look into your soul and how are you really? And she could hear you with no judgment and support. And I always knew that I could go to her and not feel silly or strange or judged, or, you know, that whatever I was going through was not important. And she listened and always gave good advice. The other thing is, you know, that rings in my mind is, what's the accountable version? What is the accountable version? Your story. And I always think about that, and I want to live like that. And I like that. I want my husband and my children, my child to be like that, and my relationships to be accountable. And the other thing that always brought us great conversation was our 2-word check-ins. And, you know, that, remember when we were on the cruise and every night we would get together and we would have our two-word check-ins for our day. And she was always just so wonderful at bringing out really authentic conversation. And it was nothing was about fluff. It wasn't about fluff with her. Everything about her was so authentic and deep. And just listening to her, you're right, the enthusiasm and how she speaks and how she thinks. And we've had conversations and the little things that you guys notice and that you're aware of in consciousness. And she's planted those gifts, and I still hear her, but it was so wonderful to actually see and hear her today. I miss hearing her and seeing her. So thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. Yeah. Yes, Shirley.
Hi, I wanted to just share with you a little bit when you say Sophia still speaks to you, and I wanted to let you know that in my experience, that speaking never stops. My grandmother passed in 1968, and she raised me for many years in her 70s and 80s. And one of my brothers in 1996, and my mom in 2004. And they are still with me whenever I wish to speak with them. My mom and my grandma are always with me in the kitchen. It's the easiest place to speak with them because that's how we connected, in the kitchen. And that was the culture, the beliefs, the ways of that time. And my brother connects with me when I'm in nature. So just to say, no, she's always there with you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, blessings, and thank you, Dwayne, for doing this. And thank you, Steve, for being here.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Shirley.
Yeah. Enjoy your coffees.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah, I see this eagle picture, and it was like the day after, and I went up to our favorite beach, and I was just standing out in the water, and the eagle was coming in from the ocean back to its perch in the tree, and it just flew right over top of me, and I had my phone and camera ready, and it flew over, and it's coming so quickly, and I just had to make this funny move of trying to capture it up in the sky, and it just so happened that it caught it, and I have that picture of that particular eagle just flying over me the day after. So it reminds me of that. She talks about the big picture. And she had a big vision. And she loved her groups that she could connect with worldwide. She really valued worldwide connection. And it's represented here today. And yeah, that was her goal, that everybody just come from love. There's nothing else. And that's what to do.
Wow, this picture, Steve, and the story you just told me about the eagle, this is profound. This picture itself, I mean, looking at that, and being with what all was shared today, and being with Sophia on her special day, I just think, wow, there it is.
Yeah. I see this about the Vesak and this the Buddha's birthday. It's also, some feel it's Buddha's birthday because this full moon in May. It's Buddha's birthday, it's Buddha's enlightenment, and it's Buddha's death. And Sophia had one deity she liked in particular, that was Avalokiteshvara. And that's the deity, the Buddha of infinite compassion. And she really loved that. And there's the 10 paramis, and life is about filling up those jars of paramis. And I saw her, she really is an example of filling those every day. Yeah. So yeah, wow, what a day. May 23rd, full moon, Pesach, Sophia's birthday. And this meeting, wow.
Yeah, happy birthday to Sophia.
Hi, Ellen.
Hey, thank you. I'm just silently listening, but I want to comment on the parami jars because that was such a synchronicity as well. That
Yeah,
was
the other day.
such magic. And the magazine, the
Yeah.
photos, they came out well right now. Yeah. So it's amazing, like magical, the timing. I have no words, but I feel it. Yeah, I'm just observing and listening and taking it in awe, really. And
yeah, when I saw that photograph, I was like, wow, there's 10 parami jars there.
yeah.
And is that you standing amongst them?
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's
like, wow.
standing amongst the parami jars, and that's coming out in the magazine here in San Miguel, like right now in this moment. So it's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved her talking about the synchronicities in a way that she took it for granted. And sometimes I feel like, maybe that's with me too, right? Like sometimes it feels so natural, and we're just like in the, I don't know, the magical fairy realm or whatever sometimes, but it's not always like that. No, and not everyone listens to the signs and the path, and therefore doesn't always get there, right? Because yeah, I don't know. I was thinking about that, how special that really is, and mystical that truly is, and how somehow we take that for granted sometimes, no? Yeah, to keep seeing the magic and the wonder and the awe as kids, no? And yeah.
I can see it, the gratitude in having that ability.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and realizing like when did that happen? Like, was life always like that for me, or when did that started shifting, right? It's interesting to pay attention to that. Yeah, so I really like the part of the mystical studies that she talked about. I think that's very important, to bring back the magic in our life when we lose it, or when we stop following or seeing the signs. I think studying and sharing is so important. Yeah, and I love doing that with her. To be here. Yeah. So yeah, happy birthday to Sophia. Thank you for the beautiful energy always. It's a beautiful energy field here that you create. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen.
I also would like to say such a big thank you for doing this. It's so wonderful to hear and see Sophia again. I'm from the Puma group. So for those of you who don't know, we did a course with Puma, an Andean medicine man. And we formed a group fairly early on in the first course and stayed as 4 Puma sisters, basically. And after Sophia's transition, our first meeting, it was so striking that we knew that 4th screen was never going to come on again. and we actually sat in silence probably for more than an hour. And as much as, I mean, Sophia was so incredibly generous, but we also spent a lot of time just sitting together in silence. And what became much clearer to me now with these beautiful clips was how much of an eagle Sophia actually is and was, because everything had meaning. Absolutely everything. Nothing was too mundane. When we talked about our everyday lives, everything was a sign. And she always had that bigger vision and clarity, and yet that childlike curiosity, that sense of mystery in absolutely everything. And that is so beautiful and so rare, because it was so coherent. She was never moving. She was never sort of shifting the focus of her lens. She always had that vision, that big vision, which also captured everything, all the details. And when the last time we actually met, she was too ill to come to our April meeting. So the last time we met in March, she was quite unwell, and she actually asked us for what she could do with her health, and she talked about her chiropractor. So it was wonderful to see you again. And I remember I was actually quite shocked that she asked us, because she was a bit older than us, but at that moment I realized how much I admired her vast wisdom. And I felt, do I have anything is there anything she hasn't thought about? But she took it all in with such grace, and also the communication afterwards. It was, yeah. So thank you, all of you, for having, for Sophia and having been part of Sophia. Such a wonderful being, and she's still so wonderfully with us. So good that, you've been doing this now. This is my second Zoom meeting with you. So happy birthday, Sophia. And how well planned to sort of shift shape on one full moon, which is the last full moon before the full moon birthday. I think.
Yeah.
It's that divine working out is I find very, very fitting.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, that full moon when she passed was connecting the pillar of heaven and earth. Yeah. You shared that prayer that you sang in that church. It's just so beautiful. Wow, just talk about resonance. You have that clip. Is it okay if I share that with the group? Okay.
Yeah, I have to say, I actually sing quite a lot, and one of the other Puma sisters, she got to know about Sophia's passing on the Friday, but she knew I had a really stressful concert weekend, so she decided to only tell me after that. But I did sing for Sophia in my concerts, and also for some other friends with health issues. So I was absolutely knackered when I sang that. So, but it's so normally I would say, oh no, don't share it, but please do. Yeah, please do. If it, yeah,
it sounds so beautiful.
I'm not really sure if the sound captured what was going on, because one of the other Puma sisters only had called me the night before, and the moment I saw her call, I was afraid something had happened to Sophia, and she said afterwards she did have a terrible feeling that evening, so we only texted actually. So I didn't know what was going on, but there was all these signs that I shared with you, and the atmosphere in that church was of a different world. And yeah, I'm quite sure you had a hand in that. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, also, I realized how much she shared about her life and life history. And I moved myself from Norway to Vienna because I loved Vienna. So it was so lovely to have that connection as well. But it occurs to me now, what a well orchestrated life. What a really well orchestrated life on Earth.
Yeah. Right to the last breath. I mean, the other word that arose was qualms. She had no qualms with death. To the last moment in our talks, and she was at peace with what she was doing, what we were doing, and I just feel honored to carry that forward. Like I said earlier, it's just a special gift that Sophia presented me. So there's something there to take forward.
I'm sure I can share this on behalf of the other two in the group. Ileana was here and she left some minutes ago. And Uli was also here 2 weeks ago. But when we finally started talking after our at least 1 hour long silence, we also felt exactly the same, that this kind of no qualms. And we had this vision of that clarity of this vehicle is not going to do, it's not going to work anymore. I need a better vehicle. And we kind of visualized like a really good Ferrari. No, a spaceship. Sophia needed a spaceship to carry on her mission. And yeah, it was that lightness and clarity and not a trace of negativity. Just generosity, compassion, clarity.
And fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, she kept her spirituality fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, kept it lighthearted.
I can actually hear her saying, write that down. Keep your spirituality fun.
Yeah.
And Steve, did you say you wanted to share that song or the words or the? I just missed.
Yeah, I would have to. I'll have to transfer it from.
Oh.
That I can put it on the Lightning Path group.
Oh, okay, wonderful. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
So if anybody wants to hear it, I guess there's a Lightning Path group that I don't know how they just joined it with Dwayne. And we can stay connected that way too.
That's the Facebook connection. So
right.
But yeah, there's email as well.
Mm-hmm. So they just need to contact you, Dwayne, with a message.
Yeah.
Okay.
That should work. Mm. I do have a few more slides. If, unless somebody has anything they want to share right now, I'll click on to the next panel. We
Well, I
usually go
just-
to, oh, sorry.
Oh, well, I just time wise, I just wanted to make sure, I wanted to let Steve know that I have Denman Island dark chocolate.
Oh,
So for my celebration for Sophia's birthday, Denman Island dark chocolate.
yeah, she loved dark chocolate.
Well, from that picture you posted the other day, a lot of chocolate there.
Yeah.
That's great. Wow.
Well,
We
enjoy.
we took the photo opportunity, but we bought a smaller one to share with each other.
Oh, shucks, you've destroyed my image.
Yeah, me
Hey,
too.
that's all right. We were fascinated to see something like that, but we also understand moderation.
Glad to hear that.
Okay. Well, I'll enjoy my chocolate sharing with Sophia.
Mm-hmm. There goes the eagle.
So as I was saying, we're approaching the seventh moon, which is where the signature glyph for this temple of 13 moons, the signature glyph is men. And these two images, one by myself and the other by Barbara, you can see how the artistry, is our way of bringing the lightning path to life. It's a big idea, and it can encompass many people, but it's at the stage of growth where it needs more form in the world. So these are a couple of artists bringing that image of men forward.
That'll be the next new moon, right?
That's right.
Mhm.
But as I was saying earlier, seventh moons have always been really different in some very subtle way, but I'm always on the lookout for clues, as to what's coming up. What threads do we have here for what wants to manifest, and so I'm already, like today, even before we started this session, I'm getting new ideas, like they're starting to flood in, and this actually came together this morning. So I'm picking up on the keynote of higher perspective, and taking us back to January 2003, which was during the previous passage through the Temple of Eagles. So I was more or less on my own during that passage, so 21 years ago. And now I'm coming through with a small group. And so to go back to, it was like, oh, I wonder what I was doing back in January, or, through that passage through Temple of Eagles. And much to my glee, these images arose from that quest. So this is I call it the roundhouse. The one on the left is this building that I constructed right at the heart of Cortez Island. You can see the map in the upper left-hand corner there. It was pretty much located right where that light spot is, and it's on this property that Barbara and I met. And it was this image that she has that's below the map there. You'll see the dolphin, and there's a woman entwined with the dolphin, and they're drifting towards the hieroglyph for star harmony. So this was the kind of the entry and the recognition that each of us had, like, oh, there's a person of like mind here, which at that time, I mean, this is quite some time ago, you know, the Mayan calendar and all of this was not really that much on people's radar, but her and I both had some kind of interconnection to this same realm. And when I talk about higher perspective and relate it to that building, we see on the right-hand side here, basically, I'm realizing today, this is a temple, a concrete temple to the Saturn-Uranus cycle, let's say, because it's tied up into the mathematics of it all. But the fundamental thing that's really exciting to me now is this notion of the great cycle of Uranus. Because what we've been tracking with the lightning path is the relationship between the phases of the moon and the ongoing cycles of the lunation and the orbit of planet Uranus. So Uranus and its orbit is kind of like the big umbrella that we've been operating under. Well, this notion of the great cycle of Uranus takes us beyond that frame of reference into a 1008 year or 12 revolutions of Uranus around the sun cycle. So this is like brand new territory, really. And I'm feeling now pulled into this realm, and I will be surrendering myself to whatever it is that I can do to help bring this forward, bring this into manifestation. So, yeah, invite you all to join me in that journey in some way or another, if you're so inclined. Yeah, I think it's going to be really, well, I'm excited already, and I'd like to share that.
Wow, when I see
And
that,
I know Sophia's on board.
Yeah.
She's on board already.
When I see that 1008, that number resonates with my 1008 Buddha project.
Isn't that something?
You were a part of that, Dwayne, and
yes.
And that number at the time when I chose it, because of course with the Buddha, 108 is very important in mantras, but 1008, I said, oh, 108 Buddha paintings, that won't be very much. So let's make it 1008. And I looked up that number and I said, oh, I want to make sure that number has a positive ID with it. There wasn't really anything around 1008. And now I'm seeing 1008 has
right in your lap.
That's right here.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a big part of our lives. Like, I had that project come to me, and Sophia was a big support of that art project. Again, it was another worldwide effort.
Huge, huge project.
Yeah, we had 81 artists from 11 countries.
Fantastic.
And she was studying TCM and coming home and painting Buddhas. And sharing the day. So, yeah.
I just wanted to ask, Barbara, are you with us? I haven't seen her show up, and I was wondering if
I haven't seen her.
You haven't seen her? Okay. I did think I saw one of her images go by, but could be somebody else using the same. So yeah, that's kind of it from the framework that, and we're right coming up to 2 hours, which is a good time. So
yeah, I guess it's time for closing remarks.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Chuen.
Yeah, I wanted to say that I've been seeing seven a lot also. So now I understand. I've been waiting, thinking what are all the sevens about? And okay. So thank you.
The top of the temple.
Uh-huh. Interesting.
Well, if there is any more sharing, not all. I'll share final thoughts. I'm honored with everybody showing up and sharing and being a part of Sophia's life and my life. And yeah, this presentation, Dwayne, thank you it's been a very full moon cycle, to say the least.
Yeah.
Just talk about a quickening. It's been a month since Sophia chose to move on. And I can say the disorientation of the coming out of the hospital for 9 days and all of that happening, and Sophia and the final paperwork and all that. I can say in this cycle, my orientation is coming back. The stress is lessened. The hives have disappeared. So it was quite an ordeal. But the main point is I'm sure I've said it a couple of times, but the gift of ease that she's given me, I really, really want to cherish that. That's wow. It was just so unselfish on her part. Just a beautiful final act on this plane. And that I hold in my heart to fly forward. So, and it's been such a blessing to be able to grieve in all these groups that have shown up. It's really, really been helpful and supportive for me. So I thank you. Yeah. And I know Sophia's plan was just keep sharing the love. That's all that matters. And then that'll get what the egg to flip that she was talking about. So
Steve, I'd like to thank you for the blessing that you've given us, me, for showing up in your vulnerability and Thank you for that blessing.
You're welcome. See, there's some chats on there I want to look at before they disappear. Oh yeah, remember to eat some chocolate.
And play.
Yeah, play.
And don't forget humor.
Yeah, that's
The last laugh.
right. That comes, fortunately, that comes fairly easy for me. So, yeah. But what I'm finding fascinating is Sophia gave me for my birthday the gift of puppet making. And I'm in the midst of carving a puppet of grief. And it's very fascinating to see the grief come out of the wood. It's just amazing. And so that's what I'm playing with at the moment. And even in the grief, I could be a happy artist.
A true chewin.
Right on.
Yeah. Oh, thank you all for showing up and showing up with your courage. It's a very special day. It's a beautiful sunny day here, calm. So it's time to get out into nature.
Right on.
So thank you all. Let's get out there. Enjoy the love.
And thank you, Steve.
Mhm.
Thank you, Dwayne.
Chewin.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Love you guys.
Bye.
Thank you, Dwayne.